Hey everybody, Laura here from What Laura Likes. So this week I thought I would take a break from doing the Mary videos and do the homemaker tag started by Rhianon over at My Little Domestic Church, because I just felt like I was needing some kind of break from the teaching. This way I thought it'd be a fun way to get to know me a bit better, and as well as talking about being a stay-at-home mom, being a homeschooling mom, being a homemaker, and all those kinds of things that are really like our vocation as women. So with no more ado than that, let's get started. So I'm sitting here and I'm drinking my FlyLady tea. Do you guys follow the FlyLady like Marla Silly? So I love Kat at A Better Life with Kat, and she mentored me and it was amazing. And through that mentorship, I kind of got curious about the original FlyLady. I kind of sort of looked into her a little bit, and so recently I've kind of dove into her YouTube channel, and I'm getting the emails, and I'm reading her original Sync Reflections book, and she had this testimony about the tea, and I really want to read her body clutter book because it's all about like health, and I'm like into that kind of thing. And anyway, this woman was raving about this tea, and it's a blend of like green, black, and bergamot. So like an Earl Grey kind of esque, and it's very good. And so I got it today, and so I'm enjoying some while I film this. So okay, so one of the things about being a homemaker is we have to make sure we take time for ourselves. It's so important. And if you guys check out my block schedule, which I'll put up here, then you'll see that I've like worked in time for me during the work weekday. Okay, but let's get to these questions. So the first question is, why are you a stay-at-home mom? I'm a stay-at-home mom because I just never wanted to leave my kids. I just felt such this strong, and it wasn't even spiritual at the time, it was just this very strong pull towards, towards being with my kids always, to be the one to pick them up, to hold them, to feed them, to kiss their boo-boos, to see their first steps. Like, I just didn't want to miss a single thing. And the only way to do that is to be a stay-at-home mom, because otherwise, if somebody else is watching your child, things are going to happen outside of your viewing, right? And so it just was one of those things where I was like, this is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to be a mom. Like, who cares about the lawyer degree? Like, I want to do this. So we made it happen. And I think that when you're a stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife, as I've come to find out, the blessings are just abundant, because not only am I there for my children, but I serve my husband in a different way than if I was this like frenzied 80-hour-a-week working attorney wife, right? And I really felt called to be an attorney. I had very altruistic reasons for being an attorney. It wasn't about the money. I really wanted to help children and families, and all that was very good. But I really starts at the home, right? And so this way, by being home, I really do get to serve my family and serve my husband and create this domestic church. And I just don't want to be anywhere else. Like, I love it so much. So, okay, so second question, I kind of already answered. It says, were you a stay-at-home wife before kids, or did you have a job career? So I worked all the way up until about a month before Chloe was born. I just was exhausted I was working at the courthouse as a, what do they call it? As a clerk, and for a judge. And thank God I got that job. It was an amazing experience. I had a lot of fun, learned a lot of things. But about a month before I was due to stop working, I just couldn't work anymore. I don't know. And Chloe came early, so my mind-body connection was just telling me I needed to rest. But I've worked ever since I could at 16, and I babysat before then, and I worked through every single year of college as best I could. And then the only time I actually took off time was the first year of law school, because you can't work during law school. It is a job all on its own. And then I think, did I work the second year of law school? I definitely worked the third year of law school. So anyway, yeah, I always had a job. I was always bringing money in some capacity until I had my baby. And even then, I did do some contracting work, which kind of helped us hobble along until Ryan ultimately joined the Army, and then now he's able to provide for us. Okay, so number 3. How does being a homemaker affect your husband and children? So, what I see like different than, I guess, my own experience, because that's the only thing I can really juxtapose it, right? And my experience was not that bad. When I was little, my mom was home on Fridays, so I was only in daycare for 4 days a week, and then my dad would get off work at like 3:30 in the afternoon, so we weren't in daycare till like dinner time. It was like, I think about 4 o'clock when he came home, or he'd pick us up earlier and we'd go to the grocery store with them. And so it wasn't as bad as it could have been, for sure. But the difference I see is that everything kind of centers around me, and it's a really huge responsibility. But there's really not these individual pieces. It's like I'm the center, and they're all kind of circulating. Because Ryan, through his job, he leaves, right? He leaves to go to work during the day. He leaves to go to field exercises for weeks at a time, and he leaves and goes on deployments for months at a time or a year. So he's coming and going in and out of the house, and he has to completely rely on me to take care of all the domestic duties, but also things like the budget and finances. He can't really take that over because he's just gone too much, even though I'd love to hand it off to him. And then, the children, well, we homeschool, so that's like a huge thing. But even when they're little, obviously, again, everything's centering around the home and the environment I'm creating and the day-to-day schedule I'm creating and the experiences I give these kids. And you can't be lazy, and you have to see it as a calling, as a vocation, as a job. And I'm not saying I do very good every day. Like, there are so many days where I let the ball fall and they're watching their iPad for way too long, or we put a movie on, or we do like one thing and that's like my win for the day, right? But even then, it's still, in my opinion, better than if they were going outside the home and separating from each other, and having these kind of very individual lives, and then coming back together and only getting like that 1 or 2 hours in the evening. And I just want to say this video is about my experience and like why I'm a homemaker and a stay-at-home mom. And like, it's not at all to put down those who have made different decisions in life. I know that I didn't really know what it was going to look like to be a stay-at-home mom, and especially to be a homeschool mom. And so I find these kinds of videos really helpful for myself, especially when I was my younger self, right? So I'm kind of just making this video as a tag, and it's not all a judgment on those who are like, oh, well, that sounds great, but I can't do that. But it is for those people who say, they're yearning. A lot of women, I think, yearn to stay home, and they don't know how to make that transition. And I just want to say it's full of sacrifice, and it's full of saying no to yourself, especially. Selfish tendencies cannot exist and do this well. But there's a lot of sanctification that comes through this, so it's beautiful. So question 4 is, what do I like about homemaking? So I guess I could take this question in like lots of different ways, but homemaking to me is making a house a home. And I just bought a book, actually I don't have it with me, I'll put a picture up. It's called Theology of the Home, and it's about like creating the sanctuary in your home. And I am not there yet. I'm working with like the FlyLady system to get me there, slowly but surely, because I have a lot of perfectionism issues, and perfectionism kind of leads to procrastination. Does anybody else relate? But what I love about homemaking is I have to die to myself. It's very sanctifying. But yet at the same time, there's this really beautiful blessing of being able to make your own schedule and to make the life that you really want. And you get time to kind of ponder that and to think through that. And no one else is dictating life to you. I mean, your kids may have activities, your husband may have something he needs to get ready for, but you really get to be like the CEO of your home, and there's a lot of beauty in that. And if you can take non-sinful pride in the fact, like, that this is something that, and I'm going to come from a religious standpoint, that's something God has given you, and He's blessed you with everything you see around you, and how you take care of that, and how you beautify that, and how you bless your family. These are all just beautiful reasons I love being a homemaker. What is hard for you about homemaking? So on a very practical level, I think the one thing I still struggle with the most is what to feed my family for dinner. I'm not a foodie, and I think that's what makes it hard. When people love food, they're like, oh, I want to try this recipe, or oh, I really like this. And for me, food is more about like feeding my body so that I can perform, yet I'm a very picky eater. So it's like, on the one hand, it's like, oh, well, you should just do like Autumn's 21-day fix meal plan. I mean, I don't know, go low carb or go keto or whatever you want to do, and like go paleo, like that should be easy for you. It's not, because I'm picky. And I'm also allergic to a couple of things like eggs. That makes it real. Eggs are like kind of in every single plan. Anyway, that's beside the point, but it is kind of funny. So, that's just the hardest thing for me. And the only way to combat that is to force myself to look up recipes, whether I want to or not, force myself to just try something. I have a cookbook that I like. It's called Cook Once, Eat All Week. I'm starting to kind of dive back into that. I definitely don't cook it consistently. But that's just where I struggle the most. The cleaning is getting underway. I don't mind decluttering. I like less is more for sure. And so really at this point it's the meals, and I just need to like figure it out. So the number 6 is, how does homemaking add to your family legacy? And so I really haven't thought about my family legacy much. I definitely, like, the main thing I want is for my children to come away with a very strong relationship with Christ, with Mary, with the saints. I want them to adore Mass, to adore adoration, to just really yearn for that connection with Christ, and to look forward towards heaven, and to just always have their eyes on eternity and understand that they are eternal, and understand theology of the body so that they respect their body and don't do harm to it and don't let others do harm to it. I want them to do all of that. That's my legacy, right? And if this turns into a part of my legacy, this What Laura Likes ministry, whatever you want to call it, that would be beautiful too. But really, my kids and my husband, like, let's get them to heaven, and as many people as I can. But when it comes to homemaking, I think that I just wanted to give my children an example of what life could look like, because society gives enough of the working wife or the working mom, or, you know, the husband who has a working wife or mom. Besides giving them the experience of having a mom that's home and that they, like I said, can kind of circle around, I really wanted to give them this idea that this is an option. This is a beautiful option, that it blesses your marriage, your sacramental marriage, and it blesses your children. And so say Chloe grows up and she meets this wonderful man, and she has 6 or 8 kids, and she chooses to homeschool them and stay home and all the things. And it would be beautiful if she could look back and be like, this is what my mom did, and because she showed me how to do this, then I felt the confidence to then go forward and do it myself. Or if Neil is very sure he wants to be a priest, and I really don't even want to talk about getting married besides being married to the church, because I just don't think it's ever going to happen that way. But for some reason, if it did, I would want him to choose a woman who felt confident in her role as a homemaker, in her vocation, in her faith, in her ability to teach her children and to raise her children well. And so I hope that that's kind of the legacy, is I want to do this well enough that people can look at our life and say, I want that. And not in a, jealous way, but in a way of like a striving way. And it's not pretty. Like, I look around, I got clothes piles all over my bedroom. I'm working on making this room a sanctuary. It's not quite there yet. I just put this little desk in here so I could film here, because I kind of had to get kicked out of Ryan's office, and I needed like a setup. But I'm working on it. I learned how to make my bed more pretty, and there's just always something more beautiful. Like, there's always something to learn. There's always something to learn, and I love homemaking. I hope that rubs off in this video. Let me know down below, like, where you're at in this journey. Are you a new mom? Are you a new wife? And you're like, what is it going to look like when I come home? When maybe you're still working right now, but you're open to life, and that could happen any day. Maybe I do know women who are fortunate enough to never have to work, and I always thought that'd be such a fun thing to, like, be a wife and not have to work, and just like get to make your home kind of your own, and kind of pre-plan that family that's on the horizon. I don't know, it's just beautiful. Everybody has such beautiful blessings in different ways, and it's funny because we can look back at our past and we can be like, oh, I wish I'd done it differently. But God leads us through experiences for a reason, and he leads us through suffering for a reason, and he leads us through almost like unideal times for a reason. And yes, he does not control our sin. Like, that's completely on us. You cannot hand God your sin and be like, you did that. But I do believe that sometimes he keeps us in the dark, in order to bring us later to the light. And so it's just never too late to come home to your children if you're feeling called to. It's never too late to have that discussion with your husband. Your husband wants to provide for you and protect you, and he wants to be that chivalrous man. Trust me, all men want this, even if they don't know it because they've been so lied to by society. And so if you can have these open discussions with your husband, and you can really, I mean, you should be able to anyway, but I know they can be kind of scary. Pray to the Holy Spirit. Pray to St. Joseph. Do that St. Joseph prayer. I'm going to link the video right here on St. Joseph. And really, really pray about it. It may mean completely lowering your standard of living. And sometimes that happens, but trust me, God will never not carry you through a decision, especially when it comes to living your vocation well. So with that, you guys, thank you, Rhianon, for doing this tag and for starting this tag. And I'm not going to tag anybody else because I don't even know who I would tag. I think it's a beautiful way to talk about homemaking, being a stay-at-home wife, stay-at-home mom. And I do have a whole video on being a stay-at-home mom, and I'm going to pin that here. And so with that, you guys, God bless. Have a very beautiful day. Continue to know God, love God, and do God's will. Let me know if you like this chatty kind of video, because I know I've been kind of teaching a lot lately, and I need to kind of balance it out. So let me know if you like this, and we will move forward from there. God bless. Have a very beautiful day. Bye.